No Budget Films presents End of Me by ggrebimik. Max Hellman was the very vision of success. At 35, he burst through the rooftop metal door and weaved his angular frame across a Manhattan skyscraper. He was tall, tanned, magnetic. He felt the surging rhythm of life was on his side. Max couldn't help but notice the sun flicker. It was exotic, heavenly. He watched as it dropped below the pink-streaked horizon. Access, not a problem, he said to himself, then looped a camera over his shoulder as he walked on. To his delight, his sleek business suit shimmered in city lights. He strolled to the edge and climbed atop a low wall. The celebrated hedge fund manager enjoyed the buildings lit with excitement in all directions and stretched out his arms as if he owned the place. It was glorious. Below, he was pleased to see neon lights, cars, cabs, and people heading for destinations unknown. Pulling up his camera, Max took a shot straight down, 70 stories, and liked the results. That'll print well, he thought. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Boy Hellman appeared. He was calm, about 12 years of age, with soft blonde hair easing a serious face. Unperturbed, Boy inched along the ledge. "You stole the keys, dude," he said, eyeing Max. Max threw his hand in Boy's direction. "What are you doing?" "Get down." Boy had wondered if his moment would ever come. "Such a pleasant evening, sir. How's the stomach?" Viewing his older self, the little one was ready for a fight. "Down!" Max shouted. "Before a swift kick puts you over." They locked eyes, neither looking away. "Should I run the shot in the papers?" Boy finally offered a smile. Max uttered, "God sends a wise ass." However, Boy felt playful. It surprised him. "I was you. So, yeah, that might come into play." The youthful one looked for an honest reaction from his older self. "Unlikely," Max replied, then suddenly tried to kick Boy but missed, almost sending himself over. "Nice try. Oh, great one. And don't lay your sob story on me either." Boy took the opportunity to mimic the old man and feigned wild sobbing. "I lost everything shorting a stock that went to the moon. And my girl dumped me. Oh, I didn't mean to exercise her girlfriends. It happens. Shit happens." Max was not amused. "Runt," was all he uttered. Boy pointed to himself and inched closer. "See it? The body is small. The rest is way ahead of you. Thanks for shoving me out of my life. Why don't you take a pic on the way down? Could be your best ever." Boy gave an enthusiastic thumbs up. With a surprise attack, Max spits in Boy's face. "You'll finally die off. That'll be one good thing." The little one patiently cleaned himself. "I'm pretty sure that happened when you hit Mom." Max ignored this comment and, pulling up his camera, took a skyline picture. He checked the image. It looked good. He was satisfied with the final scene. He then quickly wheeled the camera around and took a picture of Boy. However, his image did not appear. "Sorry to disappoint," Boy said. "You want to know the other charges?" "Oh, my lizard. Embezzlement. 100 million. Holy quackers. Couldn't you do more? So many suckers, and my God, you're so charming." Max had heard enough. He made a fist and squared off with Boy. "You'll croak first," he replied. "What? You're going to land on my skull?" "Not likely." Boy softened for a moment. "Mr. Hellman, do the 20 years, then work a soup kitchen. Make a difference." Boy gave an encouraging nod. "You do the time," Max replied, peering over the ledge. Boy quickly caught his thought. "Hey, you might land on a Porsche. That'd be cool, right? Police and firemen will show. Lots of attention. But wait. What if you hit the blacktop? People will gather, wondering what asshole ruined their perfect evening. Don't worry. Some sleazy news crew will run you some pub, because when you hit, you'll be doing 120. Boy tried to tease him, to poke him, to get him back to his senses. Max had heard enough. "Some inspiration you are," he said, turning away. "Stop." Boy inched closer. "Please. Tell me, have you ever loved anyone?" Max leaned over to the point of no return and snapped another image. He dropped headfirst like a skydiver exiting a plane, but in a surprise move, Boy quickly leaped on his back and rode him like a surfboard that shot down a steep Hawaiian monster. Max was pissed and shouted, "Get off!" "What?" Boy yelled back. "Oh, hell no. This is the most fun I've had since knowing you." An enormous flash of lightning struck around them. A portal opened. Each second broke into a million parts, causing them to drop in super slow motion. The duo was stunned, mystified. As if with an omniscient eye, Max could quickly perceive the heart of people's lives as he passed their floor. Some couples bathed together. Some made love. Some meditated. Some prepared a meal, while others played with their kids. Max broke down. "I want to go back." He wept openly. Boy had never seen him vulnerable. He wiped his own tears. "Dude, I can only slow it for a moment. I'm not Buddha. Please, back." Max cried as everything locked inside came rushing out. The youthful one choked up. "Sir, there is no exit." Boy knew the reality. Max continued to weep. "I'm sorry for everything." Lightning split the air, singeing their hair. Max screamed. He cried as 120 miles per hour resumed. Maximilian snapped his last picture as passing cars rushed up on him. He couldn't stop it. He couldn't stop anything. His eyes grew with fright. 20 feet from impact, Boy pushed off and immediately transformed into a dragonfly. He was stunned, shocked, thought for sure he was dead. He quickly discovered he was light as a feather, 6 inches long, with golden wings and a blue, somewhat translucent body. His heart and eyes glowed with a slow pulsation. Boy hovered and watched Max slam face first into the blacktop. It was horrific. A tear came. Max's camera shattered into 100 pieces like ground-level fireworks. Boy quickly angled his body as a shard of glass nearly clipped off his wing. The young flyer noticed the city lights lowered as if by a giant dimmer until he could barely see. Boy cried as the street and everything below turned black. A turbulent sea rushed in, thick as used oil. Boy looked up. The lights and stars were gone. Straining to see, he raced to the top ledge from where Max dropped. He landed and sat gargoyle-like on the very spot as if guided to do so. The setting was ink black except for one yellow security light in the far corner of the city. Eerie shadows danced. As Boy's eyes adjusted, he was overwhelmed to see every rooftop lined with dragonflies. Each sat with head lowered, nursing a faint, pulsating glow. He was further saddened to see his clothes were gone, now replaced by rags. His body and wings had turned dark, charcoal-like. To Boy's surprise, an attractive girl dragonfly about his age sat beside him, frozen, perch-like. "Hi, can we talk? My name is Boy." His tone was desperate. He needed a friend. Her heart pulsated a little brighter. "Susie," she replied. "Your wings are beautiful." Boy couldn't help himself. His voice sounded nervous, even scared. "Don't get any ideas." Susie didn't bother to glance over. "Sorry." The new dragonfly's tone was apologetic. "Was your adult the same?" The new arrival wanted answers. His head was a blur. He pleaded, but Susie kept her focus on the thickness below. "We don't have time," she finally said, having had the conversation 1,000 times. Enormous waves pitched and heaved against the buildings. Occasionally, a spark would lift above the surface, then quickly fade. Suddenly, a brighter spark appeared. Boy watched a dragonfly from a neighboring building drop off and dive into the fading glimmer. "Is that how it works?" Boy was more than confused. "Maybe." Susie's reply was cold. "How do we know what we're diving into?" A young dragonfly had to learn quickly. "You won't," she replied, "but you'll know when to go. A few moments is all you're given." Boy tried to flap his wings. He couldn't. Boy hoped she would look his way. Was he going to die alone with no one to talk with? Susie finally gave a glance. "How much useless shit did you sell him?" Susie's tone struck Boy, even knocking the wind out of him. Did she possess hidden powers? Even with his seemingly youthful age, Boy had been around and seen plenty. He bolstered his courage. Like what? He said. Be a good person? No, came her abrupt reply. More like be whatever you're not meant for but want anyway bullshit. Did you hear the bullshit part? Susie stretched out her dark wings, which mesmerized Boy. He wanted to stretch and fly away. Boy had never met a dragonfly, and certainly no one like Susie. Her precise wisdom made him shudder as if the gallows were nearby. What did I tell him? Boy replied. Be whatever. It's the American way. Boy thought his truthful reply would be respected. Yeah, which puts people here after enough loneliness sets in. Susie returned her attention to the violent mass below. But he ripped off people and cheated. Boy wondered if this ledge were to be his home forever. Did you drive him, Mr. Boy? Susie tightened her wings as a cold front dropped over the tall buildings. She hated snow. They were so exposed. I may have said some things. We're taught. Boy couldn't get another word out before Susie cut him off. By who? The whores on Madison Avenue? Are they here scraping up? Susie had heard enough. She couldn't handle additional memories of her adult's demise at the hands of the endlessly wanting of things. Boy protested. Look, I only had so much influence. Susie paid no attention. You let him take over. Didn't you? What did you want? Insist. If you love baking, be a baker. The world needs bakers. They are the happy ones. A light lifted above the surface, and a corresponding shiver flickered through Susie. Finally, she said. Her thoughts and emotions ran wild as she eyed the portal to a new life. I want. Boy could not utter the words. Susie gave the order. Say it. Fast. Boy sobbed uncontrollably. I want myself back. The thought of being alone gripped his every cell. Please, where will I find you? How long have you been on this godforsaken ledge? Boy knew the brave creature beside him would soon be gone. 25 years. Susie's voice trembled. Boy could feel the depth of her torment as she dropped off the ledge. Through bitter tears, the new arrival watched his friend dive into the bit of hope that presented itself. He screamed. He tried to follow, but found himself stuck as if by an invisible force. Boy sat gargoyle-like, unwillingly. He glanced at Mrs. Carlson, an aged dragonfly perched beside him. How long? He asked. This isn't fair. The elder wore a tattered purple shawl. Over the years, it was evident her severely torn wings ate away her self-worth. What came forth was a tiny, caring voice. I am Mrs. Carlson. Remember what Susie said? Boy had endless questions. Ma'am, how long have you been here? Her reply was simple. Her words direct. 2 more weeks, she said quietly. I will cease to exist. Boy tried to move closer. Is that even possible? He had never fathomed all being lost. Suddenly, an old dragonfly tipped over a few spaces beyond Mrs. Carlson and fell lifeless. Mr. Walter, she cried. His wings and body parts separated and slowly tumbled like unwanted confetti. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Carlson. The young dragonfly wanted to give comfort. He wanted a change within himself. He wanted to feel something genuine. A tear dropped from the stately lady. It followed Mr. Walter into the turbulent sea. Remember what Susie said. She was my daughter. Those were the last words Mrs. Carlson ever spoke. The glow in Boy faded. Sadness draped over him like heavy wire mesh. A chilling breeze swooped in, bringing light snow, which dusted the dragonflies. Boy waited. Head bent, his heart light pulsated slower. Trance-like. All was quiet. No longer could crashing waves and whistling wind be heard, but keenly felt.